Phoenix, staring into the view again.
Oh, you mean me? No, just joking. I'm actually waiting for someone.
Oh, who?
You're about to find out.
Hi Phoenix.
Oh, hi Paul. Yeah, I'm going to interview Paul today, and he is head of litigation from Clifford Chance Asia. So without further ado, let's start.
Good morning. My name is Paul Tan, and I'm a partner at Kavanagh Law, which is in a formal law alliance with Clifford Chance.
Right, thank you Paul for the introduction. We would like to ask, how does a day in the life of a litigation lawyer look like?
Thanks Phoenix. So basically what happens in the morning for me is I wake up at a reasonable hour. I have my morning coffee. I check my emails. That's usually the first thing I do, just to see if anything urgent has come through the night. I see what else is in the diary for the rest of the day, and then just get on with it. Usually there's a mixture of meetings, conferences with colleagues. If it's a day that we have to go to court, then we'll prepare to go to court. But that's the general lay of the land for most days.
Right, so actually why did you choose to begin your career in Raja and Tan's commercial litigation department?
Yes. Well, actually, I started as a pupil at Allen and Gladhill, and then I went to the courts as a Justice's Law Clerk. And it so happened that at the time when I was considering what to do after my GLC stint, I had an opportunity to work with the now Chief Justice Sundaresh Menon at Raja and Tan. So that was the primary reason I went to R&T. Was because of an opportunity to work with him.
Wow, so you were talking about your JLC days, right? How was doing a JLC like?
It was very educational, I should say. It was a great opportunity to work with the judges, to understand how they think, to see what they look for in terms of submissions from the parties, how they analyze the cases. And it was just a very good period of time in which you could really exercise a lot of skill in terms of writing, drafting, analysis. So that was a great learning opportunity.
So you know what to look out for, and then you can temper your different submissions accordingly also.
Yes, that's right. And of course you realize that different judges look at things differently, and they have different likes and dislikes. So it's very useful now as a practitioner going before some of the judges whom you've clerked for, to really understand how they think about a particular case.
I see. So, but actually now you're here at Clifford Chance Kavanagh Law, right? So we would like to ask, why did you choose to join Clifford Chance Kavanagh Law instead?
Well, I think at different points in time in our lives, we like to take on different challenges. So when the opportunity came up for me to join the firm, I thought that this was, I guess, the right time to see if I could bring my career in a slightly different direction. So the opportunity to work with an international network of partners and colleagues with a much more global clientele, that was a challenge which I thought I would be suited for, and that I thought I would like a chance to take on at this particular point in time.
What actually changed when you came to Clifford Chance to work, like in terms of the job scope or the nature of your work?
Well, I think the in terms of the substance of what we do, it's quite similar. The technical aspects of lawyering is not too different from wherever one is. But I think in terms of how you approach things like client development, how specialized you have to be, how you relate to the MNCs and the global clients, I think those are where the differences are. So this has been a really good opportunity for me personally as well, in terms of career development, in terms of personal growth. It's kind of forced me to sort of bring myself to a different level.
How does Clifford Chance actually recruit and maintain the talent?
Okay. Well, we place a lot of effort in terms of reaching out to student bodies, such as the UKSLSS. We do the equivalent for the Singapore universities as well. So these are our major pools that we look at in terms of recruitment. and we do outreach programs, we do one-on-one chats, we hold seminars, and through, or sometimes we sponsor events. So these are the ways in which we reach out to various student bodies. But I think the main challenge for us, as with most firms, is really once you come in through the door, how do we keep the talented ones and make sure that you grow and have a sustainable long-term future with the firm. So one of the things that we are doing right now is in the Asian offices, we are rolling out a program of mentorship for all the associates, and they'll be paired up with partners. It may not necessarily be from the same practice group or even the same office, but we want to use that as an opportunity for associates to sink deeper roots with the firm. And we've now set up a talent leadership group within the Asian offices, and this is one of the programs, but there will be others that we'll roll out over time to try and make sure that there are the necessary infrastructure, the support, the counseling, and the mentorship for young associates to make sure that they feel that they have a place in the firm. They know where their careers are going, and they can be given the support for their growth.
Right, thank you so much. So we know that in the UK we call it vacation scheme, right? But in Singapore we call it just internship. So what can students actually expect from the internship, and going forward, what can students expect from the training program, the training contract?
Yes. Well, the summer internship in Singapore is an opportunity for interns to really see what our working culture is like. So they'll be given an opportunity to work in different groups with different partners, with different associates. It's a short period of time, so it's not incredibly long, but they'll be given some substantive pieces of work to do, some exercises, and just really have an opportunity to see what it's like to interact with people. I think internships are a great opportunity, not just to learn something, but really to see whether you fit within the firm and its culture. I think that's probably the most important intangible result that you can get from an internship, is to really see whether this is a place where you feel comfortable and you feel that this is the right fit for you. In terms of our training program, when you come in as an associate, we have a very structured and very detailed program, which will usually involve a rotation amongst the different seats. So you do some transactional practices, you do some disputes practices, and at least prior to the COVID situation, we would also usually have a stint in one of our overseas offices as well.
Actually, that's quite unique, right? Because I know of a lot of Singapore local firms, they don't actually rotate amongst the different seats, whereas you actually have it here, right?
Yes, I think we are inspired by the way that by the way the UK trains, the UK firms train their associates. So we kind of follow that model as well, and that is one of the unique and differentiating elements, I suppose, in our training program, which is that you do get a chance to go to another office to broaden your exposure. And I think the same is true throughout the lifespan of an associate, really. We find opportunities to place them in clients, place them in our various offices, so that you really broaden your knowledge and your experience as much as possible.
Thank you so much for that. So when speaking about work experience and all that, how was your experience working in the Switzerland office at Leaf?
Yeah, so that was quite a special experience, actually, because but I wanted that experience because it was not the usual common law jurisdiction. It was civil law, and so I purposely chose that when I had that opportunity.
Actually, how did you even have the opportunity to work in Switzerland?
It was through a recommendation from one of the partners at R&T. So I happened to know somebody in Leaf, and that was how the internship was set up. And it so happened that just prior to that, I was in London doing a placement with Essex Court Chambers. So it was quite easy to just cross over to Geneva.
Flights are very cheap.
Yes, they were at that time. So it was a great opportunity because you got to see a very Swiss firm sort of operating. Almost everyone spoke French. It was quite. It was a very friendly place, but it was different. And one of the things that struck me was just in terms of how they approach cases. The culture and the perspective was quite different from how a common lawyer would approach things as well. So in international arbitration, we are always trying to blend the best of the civil law traditions with the common law traditions. We are always coming up against civil law lawyers. So it's always useful to have that perspective of how they see things, how they perceive things, what's important to them. So it was a huge advantage to be able to have that experience.
Besides being civil and common law jurisdiction, the difference, right? What other difference do you notice when you went to work in the Switzerland office?
Well, I think primarily
maybe their working culture and...
I would say that they were perhaps a little bit more formal compared to what you would expect in a Singapore firm, for example, which tends to be a bit more relaxed. So I don't know whether it was me or the firm, but I did feel that it was a lot more formal. One of the nice things that they had though was that I think every Monday morning they had a roll call. I don't know if they still practice that, where they kind of gather together, because it was a relatively small firm at that time, and they kind of just went through the diary to see what was happening that week.
So every morning they will have this?
Every Monday morning.
Oh.
Yeah, so it was quite nice, because then you saw other people that perhaps in the rest of the week you didn't see, and you kind of knew what everyone was up to. So that was
everyone
quite nice.
Page.
Everyone was on the same page. They knew what priorities there were for that week and so on. So I thought that was quite a nice thing.
Yeah, very, very interesting.
Yeah.
So you also mentioned that you actually did an attachment at Essex Court Chambers. Yeah. How was the experience?
Yeah, that was really an amazing experience to be able to work with some of the Queen's Counsel in London, some of whom I've continued to do work with.
So the Queen's Counsel is actually the equivalent of like a senior counsel in Singapore, right?
Yes, that's right. So about half of the members of Essex Court Chambers are Queen's Counsel, and then the other half are what they call juniors. But the English commercial courts and English arbitration, I think, is very, very advanced, and the level of advocacy there is very sophisticated as well. So at that time, I was maybe 5th or 6th year sort of PQE. So the opportunity to work with them on a daily basis, up close, personal, I thought that was an incredible opportunity for me.
So other than taking the bar exam in Singapore, right, you are also English qualified in Middle Temple, right? So did it ever cross your mind to be a barrister in the UK actually?
The thought kind of crosses your mind every now and then.
Yeah.
But I would say that the opportunities in Singapore and in Asia now are like never before, and I think it will only grow in time to come. This is where the businesses are locating. This is where Singapore is the hub of Southeast Asia and Greater Asia. I do see huge opportunities for Singapore lawyers to do really well in this part of the world. So yes, it's important to get exposure internationally, to see how people are doing things and what lessons they have learned in various areas of practice. But ultimately, I think there are huge opportunities here, which I think is open for exploitation. So I've not reached a stage where I'm thinking of migrating back to London, but I take what opportunities I've had there and the lessons that I've learned there, and trying to apply it here in Singapore.
So you've seen how barristers operate, you've seen how Singapore judges operate, and you yourself as a litigator, right? Yeah. So how is it different as a barrister and being a litigator in Singapore?
Yeah, so barristers in London tend to focus only on what they call the counsel work. So things like pleadings, written submissions, and the oral advocacy in court as well. So they are very much court-facing, as opposed to the solicitors, which are client-facing to some extent. But I think over time I've realized that actually the lines are blurring, and that many barristers are actually brought into cases in much earlier part of the development of the case, and they're helping with the strategy, they're speaking with the clients, and the clients want to see them. So in many ways, that traditional divide, I think, doesn't really hold up very much. And in Singapore, there are opportunities for you if you want to do more of the court-facing work, to kind of focus on that, even though we're dual qualified. So you do see people over time in their careers functionally operating as if they were barristers. And of course, there are now setups in Singapore where you do see them styling themselves as counsel-only law firms. So that shift is happening in Singapore as well.
I see. So we know that you actually had a chevening scholarship, right? And how was your master's journey, which is a BCL, right, as a
Yes.
chevening scholar?
Yes, that was probably the toughest time in my life, actually. Yeah, studying for the BCL. It was taken very seriously, first and foremost. So there was incredible pressure to do well, and of course you get a class of honors at the end of the day, right? And as Singaporeans, the moment you come back, everyone will be asking you how you did.
And you worked for a while, then you went back to study.
Yes. So that was the difficult part, actually. The shift from practice to academia again was a great shift in terms of just your thinking, your way of thinking. Having to handwrite stuff all over again. So there's small things which makes a difference, but primarily I think the way that you think about things in practice, I think is quite different from how you look at things as a student or as an academic. So while there are useful things that you can pick up while you study, the way you approach it is a little bit different. So that shift back to studying was something which I needed to adjust to. But it was a great opportunity to learn about areas of law which I had not picked up when I was doing my undergrad. So things like international law, private and public, those were things which I did not really focus on in my undergraduate days. And I really wanted to have kind of an academic background on that, because I found that my work was gravitating towards those areas. So that was the primary reason I did the BCL. But it was a difficult time.
At least you've been through it.
Yes. I mean, I would recommend it. If you really wanted to put yourself through the rigor of the program, and you really learn a lot from the tutors, from your colleagues in school. But it does require a lot of effort.
So I think in the UK, especially when students apply to firms, a very big word that comes out is commercial awareness. So do you what do you do on a daily basis to increase your own commercial awareness?
Well, I think you just keep up with the news. That's the basic. I think you just read even FTs and New York Times.
Do you read that every day, given that you're very busy?
Yeah. I mean, the firm has an incredible knowledge management team. So what they do is to curate news items which would be relevant to our practice areas, and so that comes out in an email every day, and you kind of click the link if something holds your attention. But if you don't have that, and like you say, you're still in school, I think you can sign up to these newspapers. You can sign up to various blogs, just to keep yourself abreast of the information that's out there. I mean, there's a huge array of sources nowadays. I don't think you need to spend 5 hours every day reading the news, but just capture the headlines, but try to also link them to areas of practice that you are interested in. So when I read the news that there's a coup in Myanmar, for example, you kind of think, okay, what are the kinds of issues that might arise from that in terms of foreign investment, disruptions, and so on, so that you are sensitive to what's happening there. And if you have clients in Myanmar, you might want to reach out to them and say, if you are facing an issue, let us know and let's see whether we can help you. So that's the kind of thing that we do as well, in terms of just being on top of the news, so that we can connect with the clients and try to help them preempt issues as well, which they themselves may not be aware of.
Yeah. So last but not least, do you have any advice for our UKSLSS members who are aspiring to be commercial litigators or international arbitrators?
Well, I think the whole practice has become very competitive, I have to say. And particularly in international arbitration, you will see a very well qualified people who are all looking to get into the space because it's dynamic, it's growing, it's interesting. But I guess what I would say is try to learn as much as you can, broaden your horizons. If you have opportunities to work at different places, take up those opportunities. It's a long career, right? It's like 40, 50 years in the making. You don't have to feel like you need to tailor all of your experiences towards one goal, but just sort of take whatever opportunities come about. But don't just focus on academics. I think it's important also to do things outside of that. So if you're interested in music, if you're interested in sports, public speaking, etc., just invest in those areas as well, because anything that you do as a student, I think helps your own personal character growth, helps your own growth as a human being, really. And I think those are the skills that you would bring to your career as well as a lawyer. So I think just be multifaceted and try not to be too focused on just a particular career goal, I would say.
Out of curiosity, are you actually interested in sports or music?
No. No, but I do I have no talents in those areas. But what I like doing is public speaking. So when I was in university, I actually spent a lot more time in debating and public speaking than I actually did. I didn't do as much mooting actually. Yes, because I did some of that, but not as much as debating and public speaking, because those at that time those were the competitions that allowed you to go overseas. So I really enjoyed that whole process. And I have to confess, I spent a lot more time doing those things than I ever did in school. So, and I enjoy other things outside of school, cooking, hanging out with friends and things like that. So I think just do things that interest you really, and not, I think, be too focused on trying to tailor your experiences towards a particular goal. I think that would probably be limiting your potential in a way that is not good, I think.
Right. Yeah, so thank you so much, Paul, for being here with us for the interview, and we really enjoyed listening to your stories and everything. So yeah, hope to see you again in our next video.
You're very welcome, thank you.
Hey Phoenix, staring into the view again?
Oh, you mean me? No, just joking. I'm actually waiting for someone.
Oh, who?
You're about to find out.
Hi Phoenix.
Oh. Hi, Paul.